about to start, but that is a problem. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. It has been a minute, but I'm kind of ready to get back into the groove of things, so fingers crossed that what I have planned for this video works, because I'm in a really bad reading slump right now. Hi guys, so it's Lainey. Welcome back to the channel. Like I just said, I'm in a really bad reading slump. I have not read a book in coming up on 2 months, which is not entirely bad. But at the same time, I want to kind of nip the problem right now because I tend to go on really long reading slumps, and I don't want 2 months to become 4 to eventually become like a year plus. So I wrote down suggestions and prompts and whatnot to kind of figure out what my next couple of reads are going to be, to sadly force myself to get back into the habit of reading and enjoying it, because I'm kind of in that headspace where I want to read again. It's just that I think I need a little push. So this, what I have written here, is gonna be my friend for, I don't know, the next couple of how long this takes for me to confidently say, yeah, I think I'm back, and you know, I can read again for enjoyment and for fun. Hi, it's future me editing right now. So my 2 months reading slump has now turned to about an 8-month reading slump. Spoiler alert. You're gonna see everything that I originally was trying to do for this reading slump shit. Like, it's just so realistic. It's not like, I tried my best and then I realized, hey, we're hitting the beginning of September. I need to get my shit together, actually. So written wise, I have about 6 prompts. I think we're gonna only do about 3, and you'll see the reveal of the prompts / the books that I'll pick to go for said prompts as this video goes on. Okay, so with that said, let's get into prompt or reading challenge number 1. Okay, so reading challenge number 1 is changing your reading format, meaning for me, that's gonna be listening to audiobooks. Now, unlike most of Book Talk, BookTube, etc., I am not an audiobook girly. With the exception of one book, I typically listen to audiobooks of books that I already own, and I've probably only done that like a total of 3 times, like I said, with the exception of one book where I listened to the audio entirely because I did not own the book at all, and that was last year summer, so it hasn't even been a year since I did that for the first time. But I thought that this would be a perfect way to kind of ease and get back into that reader mindset if I'm listening to something while doing a different task that I already have to do. And since today is Sunday and it's my day to cook, I thought, you know what, let's put the YouTube videos down just for a little bit and at least start cooking by listening to an audiobook. So that is what we're gonna do, and the book in question is I Remember You. Now this one also checks the box of reading a nostalgic read, because if I'm doing the math right, it has been 9 to 10 years, yeah, depending on when within the year of middle school, 7th grade, that I read this. It's been 9 or 10 years since I actually last read this book, and one of the reading challenges I have is read a nostalgic read. So yeah, I mean, that could work for both of this, but I think at least for this beginning, and I think for the entirety of the challenge, we're gonna just listen to this book because I have it on Libby. This was supposed to be my February read. I let the time run out on Libby, and then I re-got it again. So with that said, I have to start cooking and we gotta start reading. Some coffee from this morning, courtesy of my sister, that I did not finish. So I just put a couple of ice cubes in here to refresh it a little bit. I'm gonna sip. We're gonna cook.
How could he? He scratched his cheek absentmindedly, and I caught myself thinking that his cheekbone was really lovely, the way it jutted out in just the right way. Had I ever thought Lucas was good looking before, or was it just coming to me?
One last thing before we start, I have my back brace. Given my condition, standing up for as long as I'm gonna do while cooking is gonna put me on bed rest. So I need to take care of myself and put my back brace on. And I would normally at the same time put in my wrist brace, but I need my dominant hand to cook, and that's not really sanitary to be working with food with that brace on. So we're just gonna put the back brace on, and we're gonna take it slow and take very good care of myself because I don't want this pain to progress. All right. So let's get into what the book is about. I Remember You synopsis reads, 17-year-old Lucas is a star hockey player who's headed for the Marines as soon as high school is over. Then there's Juliet, straight A student and a rigorous debater, whose college trajectory has been carefully planned for years. They couldn't be more different, but from the moment Lucas sees Juliet, he swears he remembers their first kiss, their first dance, their first fight. In fact, Lucas knows everything that's going to happen between them, not because he can predict the future, but because he claims to have already lived it. Juliet doesn't know whether to be afraid for herself or for Lucas, because as Lucas' memories occur more frequently, they also grow more ominous. All Juliet wants is for Lucas to be safe with her in the present. But how do you hold on to someone you love now when they've begun slipping away from you in the future? Hello, book lovers. It has been a minute. Me trying to get back into reading, trying to fix up my reading slump. It's been a couple of months since then, and it has been very much unsuccessful. Hi, editing me again. So like 2 or 3 days ago, I popped in and said, oh, hey, spoilers. This video went from like 2 months of a reading slump to 8-month reading slump because I started this back in like March, and now we're in September. But you would not have noticed that because I'm literally like me popping back in and being like, hey guys, it's been 8 months now. I'm wearing the same shirt and I have the same hairstyle. So I don't know if that was confusing to anybody, but it like 7 months has passed since I originally started this video when I was reading I Remember You. It wasn't the book's fault. I was in a reading slump, and audio is just not for me. I should have picked a different format, maybe digital instead, and read a digital book. I don't think I think I have to find a really good audiobook for audio to work for me, and it just didn't work for me, and it put me in even more of a slump, even though I was rereading a book that I loved from when I was a child. That's unfortunate, but we live and we learn, trial and error, and we're gonna pick ourselves back up again. So that's my little input. I don't even remember anything I originally said. It's probably edited obviously before this part in the video, but I don't remember what my methods were, and I definitely wrote it down. I just can't find where I wrote it down. And obviously through editing, or after I actually edit it, because I haven't edited it yet, I'll find out. But I don't remember anything. I did not get out of my reading slump. We are now about 8 months into the reading slump. I'm really hoping that we get a tackle on this now, because my last reading slump was about 2 years. It was the beginning of January 2022 to the end, like November, December of 2023. So about 2 years. So I can get into a long reading slump. Yeah, I know what it's like, and I don't want it to happen. So I want to really get the ball on this now, because I feel like I was really babying myself prior, because I don't actually want this to feel overwhelming to the point where then I don't like reading, obviously. But at the same time, because I can get into a 2-year reading slump, it has happened before, I don't want to be too cautious, or that's gonna end, like that long reading slump is gonna end up happening. And so I have refigured out how I want to get out this reading slump, but we're gonna fucking do this.
I'm sorry, but Mr. Tom is not here right now. Please leave a message.
about to go crazy with this goddamn book. Ellie, let me read a couple pages to you. Not a couple pages, like a couple of paragraphs, because I'm going crazy. In this book, it reads, Nancy Harmon long ago fled the heartbreak of her first marriage. The macabre death.
Nancy Harmon long ago
fled the heartbreak of her first marriage.
Sorry, you're just running through it.
The macabre death of her 2 little children. And the shocking charges against her. In pursuit of a fresh start, she changed her name. Barely. She just changed her last name. She kept her first name. I don't know why. Dyed her hair and left California for the windswept peace of Cape Cod. 7 years later, Nancy is remarried with 2 kids. 5-year-old Michael and 3-year-old Missy. She has finally regained the confidence to reclaim what she lost. Until the morning she looks across the backyard to find only one red mitten where her children should be. And realizes that the nightmare has begun again.
Okay.
Now let me read a couple of these, because girl, I'm literally going fucking crazy. We have Nancy, her husband Ray, this mysterious guy. I don't know if we ever got his name. And then there's a 4th guy. His name is, why is Jonathan on the top of my head? He's like a writer. He's writing like, he's like looking through true crime files and like giving his own personal like opinions based on like the facts of those files and stuff like that. Whatever, right? So Ray, the husband, his assistant, secretary, whatever, Dorothy, gives him the newspaper that reads, somewhere today, Nancy Harmon is celebrating her 32nd birthday and the 7th anniversary of the death of her children she has found guilty of murdering. And up to this point, for 7 years, her husband knows about this, and Dorothy knows about this, the assistant. And up to this point, she has tried her very best to like completely like rewrite her whole life. Anyways, but there's a guy who lives maybe like across the street or a little farther than that, because he uses a telescope to look into their house, or like to look into like to see where they're like see their house closer than it is, right? This guy is like, he has some sort of obsession, XYZ. So he's the one, spoilers, that he's the one who kidnaps the children, because she said that her new children, they go missing. So he takes the children and basically brings them back to his place. But he's talking about how he sets a routine for himself. So after he kidnaps the kids, he goes to his morning routine, which is going to the market at 10 a.m. every day to buy like the same stuff. So then, you know, I'm assuming that's for like alibi purposes and whatever the case is, right? Nancy finds out her kid goes missing. She's going through, I don't know what this girl is, but she's woozy, all types of dizzy, blacking out, screaming, hooping and hollering because her kids are missing. This guy, all right, right here, right? Chapter 8, he goes, after he kidnapped the kids, he goes, maybe he give the little girl a bath and dry her off in a nice soft towel and rub baby powder on her and kiss her. He had all day to spend with the children. All day. The tide wouldn't come in until 7 tonight. When I heard that, I said, oh, he's gonna kill them. But then it would be dark and no one would be nearby to see or hear. It would be days before they'd be washed in. It would be like last time. When I heard that, I said, wait a minute, because she got charged and arrested for killing her children. But she very much has been like preaching her innocence and being like, no, she's innocent. And her husband and the secretary, they believe her. But you have hints of these like other people who don't believe her. But like when I'm hearing this part, because he said it would be like last time, it means that she didn't kill him. So I had to like, bro, I don't really annotate like that, and when I annotate, it's for like good books that like make me think. I had to pop the poster and start writing because I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? So let me read a little bit more. He goes, oh Lord mercy. It was so much more enjoyable touching them when he knew their mother was being questioned by now. What did you do with your children? They'd ask her. The little boy wakes up. He tells the little boy like, oh, they're playing a game, and like your parents know like you're with me. He's saying I don't want to play any games anymore, so he's trying to get the sister so they can leave, and he refuses like to let them. So he says, do you know what it's like to be dead? He asked. It means to go to God, Michael answered. He nodded approvingly. That's right. And this morning your mother went to God, which is not true. That's why all the police cars are there, because he took him to the telescope that points to their house and said the police cars were there because the mother died. That's why all the police cars are there. Your daddy asked me to mind you for a while and said for you to be good and help me take care of your sister. Michael looked as though he'd cried too. His lip quivered as he said, if my mommy went to God, I want to go too. Running his fingers through Michael's hair, he rocked the still wailing Missy. You will, he told him. Tonight, I promise. The anger I have right now. These poor fucking children. The boy's 5, I think the girl's 3. What the fuck is going on right now? Little update here. I'm on page, I don't remember, but I'm past page 100. This book has 203 pages. Honestly, I'm most likely just going to sit through and finish it tonight. It's literally crazy because I don't even know what time it is right now, but I started this a couple of hours ago. So we're like 4 minutes. We're 4 minutes from it hitting 11 p.m. I probably started this sometime past 8 o'clock and was kind of reading the beginning very slowly here. And I think I started on chapter 2 because I had to reread what I had already read previously. And then chapter 4, chapter 5, I really picked it up. And I don't know what chapter I'm on now, but I'm past page 100. My suspicions so far in this book have been correct. I keep going up to my sister and giving her these like updates. Knowing what we knew about like what age she got married and who she got married to, I had a suspicion that her previous husband was probably like drugging her or stuff like that, and none of that was like concrete. It was just like a vibe that I was feeling. And then like now the book is slowly going on, my suspicions are being correct. This book is literally so good. It is so fast paced, and I definitely credit it to the short chapters. Most chapters are 2-3 pages long. I think it aids in that kind of like fast paced, like, oh, I have to like turn to the next page, turn to the next page, turn to the next page, because the chapters are so short. I would also say quite earlier than I thought, we kind of got the vibe of like everyone already immediately was like, Nancy did it, and because she's kind of like a bit hysterical and is having this memory lost, she's not being the most trustworthy source of information in regards to like what happened with her children 7 years ago and what happened with her children right now. But earlier than I thought it was going to happen, there's a slight shift. But now there's some people, because like new characters are introduced with new perspectives. So we have Jonathan, who is writing this like crime book, and he's like their neighbor. And then you have like this old family friend who's a psychiatrist. So these characters are popping up who are on the side of Nancy, and they're kind of like trying to prove to the police her innocence. And they're like bringing new things onto the table in terms of like, hey, let's not immediately think that Nancy is the bad guy, or Nancy had anything to do with her current children going missing, and even so her past children being found murdered after they went missing as well. So I think that's all I'm gonna like say. I do the next update when it's most likely gonna be me when I finish doing my reading. It's 12:33 a.m. I got a little bit sidetracked from TikTok, so we're gonna pick it up. I'm going to finish this book tonight. Hopefully I don't get too tired, and I can. I'm on page 126, 127. I'm gonna put something on, oh, you can't even see me. I'm gonna put something relaxing on, probably get into the mood, and we're gonna read until we knock. So let's play. Good morning. It has been a week later since I last read Where the Children, read and finished this book. I didn't mean for it to be a week later. I meant to update you guys the very next day, give myself almost a day break, but update you guys as soon as possible, and time got away from me, and now we're literally a week later. But it's okay, it happens. But my thoughts on Where the Children. I think after settling in a little bit, I have lowered my original rating. I think I was giving it originally like a 4.5, but I think I'm gonna lower it to a 4. Since it's been a week, I haven't really thought about the book. I think just like the adrenaline and like the fast pace of it all really got to me, and I felt like if I did update you guys then and there when I finished reading it, or almost, you know, a full day after, I would have set it like a higher rating, because it's like obviously fresh in my mind. But now it's been a week later and I'm not really thinking about the book anymore. The only reason I realized like I have to update you guys is for the fact that I was editing yesterday, and I was like, oh shit, right, I read this book a week ago. I will say I like the book. I think my only not quite downfalls, but I think what I haven't really thought about a week later is the characterization. I don't think there was strong characterization to the point where the characters ended up being memorable, other than, you know, the villain or the antagonist of the book. I think that the interest of the book is purely on, you know, the plot and the circumstances, as opposed to like this stuff happening to our main character. And, you know, it's like circumstantial, like you'll just feel bad for anybody in the situation when your kids get kidnapped, as opposed to, I mean, obviously that's the point, but I feel like there should have been like an extra layer on top where we actually cared about the character herself, and I just think that wasn't there. I did read that this is a reprint of Mary Higgins Clark. I think I did believe I read that she passed away, so this is a reprint of her debut novel that was released in 1975, 74, something like that. And in the back of the book there's actually a sequel titled Where the Children Now. It takes place in the future. I read like the first page. I'm not too interested. I'm not too interested to read the sequel. And even when I was like highly praising the book to my sister when I originally finished reading it, and I was originally giving it a much higher rating than I intended to, I already told her that I also wasn't going to read the sequel, because I felt like the book just kind of like finished and it was done. And like I said, the characters aren't too memorable, and they didn't really stick around to the point where now I wanted to see what the children are up to in the future. So yeah, But I think regardless, like a 4-star rating, if I said the rating, is still a really, really good start to the book and a really, really good start to this video. Or I guess technically the start to this video was a couple of months ago, but we're restarting it now, and I think we're on a really good track, and I think we should continue. Where are the children? She did her thing. I don't know what I'm gonna go ahead and pick out, so I think it's best that we go to the collection and kind of roam around and figure something out first, because I don't have anything on top of my head. Okay, let's go into that. Okay, so let's get into our next method, which is switching up the genre or switching up the type of books that you read. That can include, at least for me specifically, fantasy, romance, memoirs, true crime. It's not genre specific, but it could be switching up something about the book. So it could be like POVs, or whether you read books first, second, or third person, you switch that up. Maybe you do multiple POVs, dual POVs, same gender POVs, different gender POVs, things of like that sort. Just switching up something about the types of books that you typically read. So let me go in and kind of figure that out. It's a little bit hard. I think I can go in certain being like, for sure I could say horror. I could also be like kind of memoirs. I have read memoirs in the past. Are they my favorite? It actually depends, but I could be like, okay, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and do a memoir this time around. And that could be the same thing with fantasy as well. Because those are like the things that I read the less. So I think I'm gonna go in looking for romance, if I have any. And I'm gonna go in looking for horror, which I don't know if I have. And I think fantasy might be our best bet because I have a pretty good like selection of fantasy books. Okay. I can also go in looking for dystopian. I think in the past, like when I was younger in school, I've read a lot more dystopian books, because I guess typically with like books that you read in school, that's just the type of selections like the teacher would give you in terms of like class books and stuff like that. But I've realized as I've gotten older, I haven't really read dystopian books. I think other than Interment, which I read last summer, which was like a realistic fiction dystopian type book about like a future version of the US. But I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna look for books. Okay, so I have some options. Nothing I'm entirely thrilled about, but is what we have, so we're just gonna kind of like push through. I don't want to repeat of earlier in the video where there's a really good method. It just didn't work for me, and you know, I ended up being in a further reading slump than I was in. So I don't want to repeat of that. Like, I want to be able to like have a really good book and like really rock with the method, but at the same time, this is 8 months in, so we just kind of need to trek through a little bit here. So yeah, anyways, we're switching it up. That's what the third method is, and that could be genre, that can be authors in terms of gender, sexuality, same thing with the characters that you read, gender, sexuality, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. So I'm gonna go through the books here, and we're gonna kind of figure out like what part of the switch up they're a part of, and then which one I'm gelling more towards. So first up, for switching up the genre specifically, if that's how you want to go, the two options that I have here are The Spirit Cuts Through Water, which I believe is a science fiction fantasy, and then the second book in the Percy Jackson series, which is The Sea of Monsters. Okay, so this next book, Secret, The Quest Begins, I believe it's part of a series, but this is to switch up the type of main character that I'm reading. So obviously I always read human main characters, so this one is animals instead. So it might be it's a good switch up. It might like it intrigued me enough that I wanted to pick up the book. Plus I remember this was part of my January TBR, and it's one of the books I never got to, so maybe I want to go ahead and knock it out right now. This one is to switch up the gender of the main character. I always read mainly female main character books, so this one is a middle grade and it's a male main character as well. And then this is to switch up the sexuality. I don't typically read romance books, that's a change of the genre, and usually whatever book I am reading, the main characters are straight or heterosexual, so this is to switch that up a little bit. I've never completed romance books, so that's a lie. That is a lie. I Remember You and Aristotle and Dante come to mind immediately. Oh, and Eleanor and Park come to mind immediately when I think of romance. So I have completed romance books, but those were also years ago. 2 out of 3 were middle school, and Aristotle and Dante was in high school. So maybe I want to go ahead and pick this one up. It starts with different sexuality. I haven't read a queer book in about a year. I think it was last summer. Okay, my try and true method: read the first page of all 3 books and then see what instantly connects me. I'm gonna sit on it. Even though I'm in the mood to read right now, there are other things I can do with my time, so I'm not just like wasting it. And while I do those other tasks, I'm just gonna sit on these books and really think. If not, we're gonna go back to the drawing board. We'll figure it out and I'll let you guys know. But as right now, I'm just gonna sit on it, do some other tasks that I need to do. I'm not really feeling this selection of books, and I feel like if I hang myself up over it a little too much, I will get annoyed and upset and then not want to read. So I'll speak to you guys when I figure out my next and last read for this video that should hopefully cure me. I guess. Okay, so first, apologies if you hear my fan. It is so hot. I really cannot afford to turn it off. But I have sat on the books and then I realized I don't think time is gonna make me really want to read those books if I truly don't want to read them at this moment. So I went back into the book collection and then went through everything, or nearly everything that I can look at, because there's a lot of books there. And then I picked up some new books I'm actually eager to read, and that I have to any money mo or randomize which one I'm going to read because I want to read all three at this moment. So let's get into those books. Okay, so first we have this book. It's called The Vicious Grace. This is a fantasy book. Checks off me switching it up. And it's also a romance book. Checks off me switching it up. But based on summary on Goodreads, magic, some sort of like assassination plot. The girl hires this guy to be her bodyguard, I believe. But he might be like connected to everything that's going on currently with her. In terms of like you know, her life being in danger and stuff like that. So I love that. Next we have this book. It is, I wouldn't know what to classify this book as. I didn't look it up specifically, but it's a reimagining of American slavery. It talks about this girl who is sold by her white enslaver, who's also her father, and then basically the struggles that she's going through. It says that she turns inward, seeking comfort from memories of her mother and stories of her African warrior grandmother. Throughout, she opens herself to a world beyond this world, one teeming with spirits of earth and water, of myth and history, spirits who nurture and give, and those who manipulate and take. And then it says that this is ultimately a story of rebirth and reclamation. So I'm thinking this is probably like realistic fiction, right? But because this is like a retelling or reclaiming type of story, it's not totally fiction, which obviously is the typical stuff that I read. Oh, I didn't say what this book is called. This book is called Let Us Ascend. And then this last one here is called Willa of the Wood. Love the illustration here. It says, move without a sound, steal without a trace. The girl Willa, she's a thief of like her village, or no, her clan. So Willa is seeking the approval of like the leader of her people, I'm assuming. And she goes into the day folks' place and steals like their stuff, or steals things that they won't necessarily miss. And she does it, like she has to be really cautious with it because they tend to kill things that they don't understand. So I'm assuming she's like, because it says Fairen people. So I'm assuming she's like some sort of fairy type small creature. And the day folk, I'm assuming, are probably just regular humans. And then during one of her like stealing trips, she gets stranded in the day world and basically grows closer to the day family that like rescues her and nurtures her. And then she kind of comes to realization that what she was told isn't necessarily the truth. And now she's kind of like in a conflict between both worlds. And this is a fantasy book. So we have two fantasy options. One, I'm assuming, let me actually search it up. I'm assuming some sort of realistic fiction, historical fiction type option. Which one do I want to read more? My tried and true method is always read the first page of stuff. So we might go ahead and do that. But if I don't read the first page, which one I'm itching to actually read, it's probably this. I think my second option is this, just for the fact that it's fantasy and romance mix. And that's the type of, those are the two genres that I read the less of. And so it just feels like a great way to, you know, get back into said genres by reading this. And then I can go for Willa as well, since it is a fantasy book. So I think I'll read the first page. Whatever grips me is what I'll go with. But I don't know, I might still go with this one instead. I don't know, we'll see.
The summary of Let Us Ascend reads, Let Us Ascend is a reimagining of American slavery. As beautifully rendered as it is heart-wrenching, searching, harrowing, replete with transcendent love, the novel is a journey from the rice fields of the Carolinas to the slave markets of New Orleans and into the fearsome heart of a Louisiana sugar plantation. A niece sold south by the white enslaver who fathered her is the reader's guide through this hellscape. As she struggles through the miles-long march, Anise turns inward, seeking comfort from memoirs of her mother and stories of her African warrior grandmother. Throughout, she opens herself to a world beyond this world, one teeming with spirit, of earth and water, of myth and history, spirits who nurture and give, and those who manipulate and take.
So I settled on a book, which is Let Us Ascend. I'm going to give it more time. I'm in the mood to read. I want to capitalize on the moment. And this is still a very good book. I think it's just the writing style is so different than what I'm used to. It's very descriptive. And so I'm kind of like, it feels like it's dragging on a little bit. So I want to give it more time because it's very pretty in terms of like the words being said in the language. but I feel like every word, every line is that. And so it just feels like it's all fluffy, flowery, descriptive stuff, and it just feels like not a lot is like happening. I think that it would be better if like every other line at the most, or at like the minimum, or at the most every like couple paragraphs, we get kind of like this like flowery type of writing. It will make it stand out a lot more. But it's not like horrible, it's just something I'm not used to. Let me read a couple of lines for an example. It's not bad. Like the sentences are not like bad sentences. It's very pretty, but it's just like every sentence is that. But some of these like I really like. I really like how things are worded in this book though, so that's why I'm gonna keep trekking on and, you know, at least make some sort of a dent before I decide, like, you know, wait, it's not really my thing. But this one's from chapter 1, Mama's Bladed Hands. The opening of the book says, "The first weapon I ever held was my mother's hand." And then I really like that as like to start off the book. It says, "The bones in her fingers blade in sheets, but I did not know this yet." Then she like talks about more about like her mother waking her up and leading her somewhere. She says, "Far from my sire, who is as white as my mother is dark, far from this man who says he owns us, from this man who drives my mother to a black thread in the dim closeness of his kitchen, where she spends most of her waking hours working to feed him and his 2 paunchy, milk, sallow children." I feel like a lot of the sentence structure is this is what happened, or this is something, further description of said thing. So we have here, "My mother knelt in the fractured tree root and dug out 2 long, thin limbs." Bam, it's like, okay, great, that's what it is. And then it just keeps going. "One with tip carved like a spear, the other wavy as a snake, clumsily hewn." A lot of the sentence structure is like that. I would think like the first part of the sentence before like the semicolon, or the colon, I mean, is like enough, but then like it further describes, which is fine. But when you have that like consistently, it feels like it's dragging on a little bit with the descriptions. But like I said, the language is pretty, the writing style is pretty, and I'm just not used to that type of writing style where it's like very flowery every line. Usually I'm used to like, this is this, and then we moved on, and then we go this, and then da. So at the start of the book just has the main character girl, like she says, she is woken up by her mother. Her mother kind of leads her somewhere off from like, you know, where like I'm assuming the plantation is located, to like a secret place, and the mother has like a weapon, and she's basically teaching her daughter how to use it. She tells her daughter like a little bit of her ancestry, talks about like you know, you're the granddaughter, you're the descendant of XYZ, and telling the daughter like this is like secret, and is basically teaching the daughter like how to use the weapon. And I like how quick the sentence is in terms of showing us time is passing by, like during like the daughter getting trained for this. "Come out and I will teach you." I started to crawl forward, her blow still stinging. "Don't forget your staff," she said. I inched back before dragging myself up and out, where I stood on the tip of my toes, 1 foot in front of the other, ready to run, waiting for her to hit me again. "Good," she said, looking at my feet, my swaying dance. "Good. I have grown from that night to this one. I am tall enough to look down on my mother's head, her dark shoulders, beautiful and round as a doorknob I polish in my sire's house." And then so we see that time passes. I have grown from that night to this one, and we see like the difference of her describing her mother from before to now, and then more of that like kind of sentence structure where you have her comparing, like stating something, and then, you know, you could leave it like that and then comparing it to something else. And like in the first page, you have that comparison to something in regards to the slave owners. So yeah, I'm gonna continue reading it. I'm gonna double back a little bit, reread to really understand what I'm reading, and I'm gonna move forward. Okay, so because this is a retelling and reimagining, I wanted to talk about one of the details here in the book, which is the importance of black hair and the many uses it had during slavery time. So if y'all learned it, but knowing that they used to braid maps into their hair and using the like braiding structure to map out ways. Here, the main character, Anise, she's given a little needle that was from her grandmother. Her grandmother passed it to her mom, and her mom passed it to her. At this point in the book, her mom is sold, or she's taken away to be sold at a market in New Orleans.
and you know, she's very devastated about this. And so one of the other girls there is like taking her in and washing her up because she's kind of like slightly let herself go due to the grief of losing her mother. So the girl Safi, she's like washing her up and like washing her hair and stuff like that, and she finds the needle that was inside her hair, and Anis tells her that it, like, you know, she gave the whole story, like it came from her mom, XYZ. So she says, Safi sets the ivory on her thighs before she washes and rinses and oils my hair. When she leans forward and begins to braid it into my scalp, she pushes down with just as much pressure as my mother, twins the hair with just as much tension as my mama. Safi's legs less strong, but the feel of them just as tender. I keep my mouth shut but cannot stop the salty tears that run my face. When Safi is done, she slides the ivory needle back into place, hiding it in my scalp. I feel warm. Made me think of what I said before, maps were braided onto the hair, and this is just another use of black hair during that time to hide things. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, I'm gonna continue reading. Okay, so another update here. I'm on page 40. Yeah, obviously the book is gonna be sad. It's a reimagining of slavery, so it's gonna have like these sad elements to it, as you know, it tells its story. It's like a sad, tragic, horrific thing that happened in, you know, American history. But I just want to read you this page because it's so sad. So the main character girl, Anis, after her mother gets sold, she ends up getting familiar with this other girl named Safi. So Safi's the one who I told you, like, washed her hair, braided her hair and stuff like that. And while Anis is, you know, facing this grief, she's really thankful to Safi for getting close, even though she was like slightly distant in like a couple of sentences. You get the idea and the feeling that Anis treasures Safi's, like what Safi's doing, and so she ended up getting closer with Safi, and they end up having more of an intimate relationship together. So at this point, unfortunately, her slave owner catches her and Safi together, and then they end up getting sold a couple of days later. And so this is like during, I think, like the first night after they're like walking along and they're like tied up with other slaves. Anis says, "You asleep, Safi?" I ask. Safi cries, comes out her on a long whistle, and I rub her back just a needle's length round and round one of the acorns in her spine till she quiets. So she stutters her breath, and we can pretend for a blink we back in the cabin, Safi rubbing my scalp, my face in her neck, and us swapping stories. "Tell me a story," Safi hums. I pull the rope, put my knuckles in the middle of her back. "Tell me about weaving, tell me about your grandmama." She shakes her head. I want to hear her voice. "Please," I say. She pushes that shuttle. Safi breathes. "Yes," I say. "It's sound," she says, "like a river, like a hush. Her mama taught her, and she taught my mama." Down the line, the women murmur in the dark. The pain make us talk past each other. Pull my knees in my chest, try to ease the throb of the walking from my feet, the tight drapes at the back of my legs, the swollen hinges of my knees. Safi turns on her back, speaks to the sky. I look up, trying to see what she sees, but there's only great darkness looking back at us. And I already said in the beginning, like, the way that Jasmine writes, it's very like flowery and pretty, and I feel like especially with moments like these, it really shines of that like sadness and heartbreak. I have a feeling, just because Anis was separated from her mom, I have a feeling that she might end up getting separated. Oh, obviously she probably will get separated from Safi, because I don't think the men that took her when she got sold is like that permanent, like they're her permanent owners. Like with her mother, when she said that her mother was going to be taken to a market in New Orleans, I think that they're going to be taken to a market, which then further they would be sold from there, so they'll end up getting separated. And Safi was that kind of like safe place for her when she got separated from her mother. I wonder, like, will we get another character that end up being a safe place for Anis if she gets separated from Safi, or would she after some time grow from the grief by herself? I don't know. And hopefully I'm also assuming that the training that she had done with her mom prior to her mom getting sold, when she's like training with the spear, the staff, whatever, like the weapons that they hid in like the forest and stuff like that, I wonder if like we're gonna get back to that. Will we see her try to break away from the slave owners, like while they're traveling together? Maybe her and Safi gets away, or like wherever she ends up, will we see some sort of like, will she like fight? I wonder also, since this is a historical fiction, you know, this is the reimagining, retelling, are we gonna get specific known things that happened during slavery? Like, will we get hints of that here, so we understand like the time period and locations, and can kind of fit it in the timeline of everything you know that previously happened? So I'm interested. I'm now watching just some reading vlogs as I get through this. After I finished watching the Minecraft Lego video, I wanted to watch something reading related to continue to get me in this mood. But now that we're hitting like this very interesting part of the book, I think I can like fly through it a little bit more. So now I'm on page 41. We're gonna continue reading, so I'll probably update at least the 100 mark, or if I fly through it, I'll see you guys at the end. Because this video is getting quite long, I have to speed up the audio, or this would be like over an hour long. When the sun is high in the sky, I realize we will not be fed midday. When Safi whimpers in front of me and water streams down her leg, I know we will not stop to relieve ourselves. That in this, we are livestock too. Like, the emotions are very, very high right now. It's sad that we are expected to walk and drop filth like horses. Safi hunches over and she leans away. She does not want my comfort. I can't return the care she gave to me. Can't clean her and warm her and give her ease. I'm sorry, I say. Too angry and too emotional to be reading a book like this. These last couple of pages after they've been taken, we're just getting like Anis and Safi's experience of just like being pulled and dragged, plus all the other people who are also roped and tied up with them, and like this long walk that they're in. When they're like stopped during the night, one of the Georgia men goes up to Safi and basically takes, and he says, Safi stumbles and leans back against his hold. The wind stirs in the trees. I hear a whisper then, little Anis. Safi and the Georgia men disappear in the dark, away from the men and their fire. I curl into myself, tuck my neck into my chest, my knees into my stomach, thankful for that small mercy. These Georgia men will not share her. But I hear Safi crying out in the dark. I don't cover my ears. If she must bear it, the least I could do is bear witness. Hi guys, so I just finished reading Jasmine's Ward, Let Us Descend just a couple of minutes ago. I will say first, I flew through this book. I want to start off with some praises. So I flew through this book. The pacing was rather slow, but it was intriguing enough that I wanted to continue like turning the page and reading as quickly as I did. So I believe I started this book last week, Tuesday, I believe. I think I read 6 pages on Tuesday. I backtracked Wednesday, only reading 3 pages. No, starting from page 3, I read up to page 15. Thursday, I read up to page 19-20. And then starting Friday, I flew through the book. Friday, I read up to page like 102, I believe. Saturday, I read up to page 187. Sunday, I read up to page 279. And then today, I had an appointment. I read up to page 297. And then I came home and read the last page and a half, 299. So over the weekend, I really flew through the book, reading like 100 pages or so. So I want to say the plot of the book was intriguing. So there are parts of the plot that are heavy to read in terms of like starvation, sexual assault / rape, death, right? So there's like heavy content in the book, but also we'll say the focus of the book is not the plot. I will say the importance and the focus of the book is the symbolism of water, bees, the spirit that Anis gets, like Anis meets, that is tied to her family lineage, and that spirit kind of being some sort of aid to her, but at the same time we kind of see this bad side to that spirit, the spirit Aza, where she's a little bit more forceful in terms of like wanting to kind of help Anis and support her, but at the same time not really, because you find moments where Anis is questioning Aza a lot. There's also this importance of Anis's family lineage in terms of like her mom, Anis's grandmother, Mama Aza, and then you have the spirit Aza herself. So yeah, there is a plot. It's not just all like spiritual talk and stuff like that, but I will say it's heavy on the like Anis and Aza's interactions. So you do find yourself, despite the writing being very beautiful and flowery and intriguing, because I've never read a book with this writing style before or this prose before, I will say it drags on a little bit. I think you can go 30-40 pages and you're like in the same area, and it's just description upon description upon description upon description. So at certain points I felt like I was understanding what I was reading. At certain points I felt like I had to reread things.
At certain points I felt like it was dragging on because I can imagine like why are we still on the same thing for so many pages in terms of like what is being talked about. So I will say like all of this in terms of like what I'm praising the book about, and then in the writing style and like that slight drag on, even though like I said, especially during this past weekend I flew through the book. All this to say is I'm giving this book a 3.5. I really want to look at like Goodreads or somewhere else to feel like I'm an outlier in the way that I'm talking about this book, but I think it was the writing style that threw me off and is the reason why I'm not giving this like a 4 or 4.5. But I think regardless, I am really happy that I read this book. But I love the main character, I love her perseverance. So that is Jasmine Ward, Let Us Descend, and this has been a wrap on my 8-month reading time because I really believe that I am out of my reading slump. I'm so excited. There's a bee. I'm so excited to read again. I already have my next stack of books for this current month, and the next month after. I just kind of keep them here, so I pick up a book I'm reading, I'm just so excited to read. I cannot get the smile on my face. So thank you for coming along with me on my reading slump. I think it went really I'm just eyeing this bee. I don't want it to come in. I think it went really well. I'm super excited to continue I'm super excited to go ahead and read again, and I will see you guys in another video. Even though I'm saying my reading slump is over, we really have to see in the next book related video whether that's actually true. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.